new TikTok trend slash challenge where kids are now trying to disappear on purpose for 48 hours straight. Why? To see if they can, to cause a ruckus, to get attention, to just get more clicks, to try to see themselves on the news. Hey humans, it's Hannah. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, I do videos on creepy and disturbing things. So like the blue whale challenge and the Momo challenge that we've talked about in previous videos, there's a new one. Of course, it always seems to be on TikTok. This challenge is called 48 hours. It's often teenagers, and the challenge is exactly how it sounds. Teenagers trying to go missing, run away from home, and see if they can go undetected for a full 48 hours and, have people looking for them. The challenge usually goes that teenagers are supposed to go together. So in pairs of two, and one leaves their phone behind and one takes their phone with them. They evidently take one of the phones with them so that they can track news and the investigations and see who's searching for them. A few weeks ago, two girls that were 14 and 15 years old went missing in New England. The whole town freaked out, of course, and all the local people volunteered to help. There was a huge search party and all this hubbub. Quite thankfully, both of the teenagers were found a couple days later unharmed. But it sparked all these rumors that due to this TikTok trend, these two teenagers actually went missing on purpose, and this whole thing was essentially a hoax. However, interestingly, they can't find any solid evidence to say or not say that the girls were actually participating in this challenge. I think this rumor started because there wasn't a lot of information about their disappearance. They went missing together, just like the challenge says you should go in twos. We don't know where they were found, and although we know the girls were unharmed, we don't know what condition they were found in. Basically, because they were fine and not abducted or kidnapped or abused, that led people to believe that they must have been participating in this challenge, or that they ran away together on purpose for, the attention or something like that. We likely will never know about that particular case because, of course, they were minors, and in a lot of these kind of situations, unless they have to, they don't release the identities of minors because they are children. And since they were also unharmed, there's no perpetrator to look out for or to catch, so they're also probably not going to release that much more information, which just strengthens the rumor more that they were running away because of a TikTok challenge, because there's no proof that they weren't. There is a little bit of evidence that leads us to believe that the challenge itself exists. There was some evidence that it was a trend back in 2017 on Facebook, but this is only from some news articles from back then. And even more, there are some very disturbing TikTok accounts that advise teens and gives tips on how to disappear. Some of these TikToks are extremely disturbing. They show lots of tips on disappearing and even come across like they're encouraging teens to do it as if it's this very exciting and romantic thing to do, in spite of the disclaimers that say otherwise. And then there's some teens reaching out and asking their peers for help on tips for how to go missing. They'll comment on these videos and asking for further advice, or straight up say that they're planning on going missing in real life, making their own videos. So that does seem pretty convincing, but on the other hand, if you look more into it, a lot of these TikToks are more metaphorically how to disappear, not how to literally disappear. They talk about how to distance yourself from others, how to seem invisible when you're in class, how to distance yourself from your friends and family, etc. Which is honestly worrisome in a whole other way, just for the kids' mental health, if they are really asking people how to distance themselves from other people and how to seem invisible. That's really scary in itself. But then it also occurred to me that maybe they're saying it's a metaphorical disappearance just so that they don't get their accounts deleted or reported by others. I do kind of wonder if maybe they're saying like, oh, it's just how to quote unquote distance yourself from others and how to, not get picked on at school, when really it is tips disguised as that on how to actually run away. Either way, it's super upsetting. There's no real solid evidence that this is actually happening on TikTok or in real life. Just that teens can find quote-unquote tips on disappearing if they search for them. If this is really happening, obviously there's lots of problems with it. First of all, you're putting your family and friends through an absolute horror, all for a TikTok trend. I promise you that every time a kid goes missing for any amount of time, the parent is freaking out and thinking about the worst possible scenario, and it's just cruel to put somebody through that on purpose. Just as bad as that, probably, you're using police resources for missing person cases that are not real missing person cases. Police could be spending all that time, money, and resources on real missing person cases and real missing teens that are actually in trouble. There are lots of children that are actually in danger and actually missing and could really be harmed, and if the police are looking for teenagers that are fine and ran away on purpose and are just hiding out at somebody else's house or hiding out, you know, somewhere, then that's just a waste of police time, which is, I just think that's really selfish and horrible. And then there's also that cry wolf effect here. I worry that police, authorities, and even other, you know, random residents will stop taking missing persons cases in their area as seriously. If they think kids are just doing a TikTok challenge or running away on purpose, then they're going to be less likely to jump on it and take it super seriously and put everything they have into finding that person. Again, this puts the really, really serious cases of real missing children in danger or real missing people in danger at even more of a risk. But there are, of course, two sides of the coin here. If people are doing this, if this is really happening, it seems to be teenagers under the age of 18. That would still make them children. And we have to remember that children have undeveloped minds still, and they are not always capable of making completely rational choices. Couple that undeveloped brain with, you know, possibly having anxiety or dealing with depression and coupling it with something like that, they'd be even less likely to make a rational choice and be thinking about their parents' feelings or the police feelings in that kind of situation. And maybe this is just how they're dealing with it. Or maybe they're really, really desperate to prove that somebody cares about them and somebody would look for them if they were to disappear. And no, that's a horrible way to go about it, but again, not thinking rationally. Others, of course, say that teenagers that do this are just doing it for attention and clout, which is arguably, if that's the reason, that's awful. However, even if that's the case, they probably still need some help. Doing something like that for views would also still be considered a cry for help, in my opinion, and they're probably still suffering mental health wise, and they probably still need somebody to reach out to them, because doing anything for views when you know it's wrong, that's something else in itself. Regardless of what's going on here, the comment section on these videos are just insanely disturbing and kind of really depressing to read and just really dark. A lot of kids just sharing their depression thoughts, talking about how they really want to do this for real, how they've lost all their friends or how they don't want their friends anymore. Just reading this made me really sad for the younger generation. All in all though, I think that this 48-hour challenge is similar to the Blue Whale challenge or the Momo challenge. It's rooted in just a tiny bit of truth, but somebody blew it up and made it into something that it isn't, just to scare kids and to scare parents. And then when kids go missing and they're found unharmed with little details about their case, this rumor gets perpetuated. Other than the tabloidy websites that keep reporting on this as if it is a real thing, I can't find any actual evidence to support it. But maybe that's just wishful thinking. I think the biggest problem with all these challenge, any type of challenge like this, is that it glamorizes harm. As for this particular challenge, I can see how it would seem romanticized to disappear. A lot of movies and TV shows make it seem pretty badass and exciting. Take Pretty Little Liars, for example. I'm not saying that I don't enjoy this type of media or that it shouldn't be made. I'm just saying that we need to remember that the way it's going to be presented to young people that don't fully grasp the line between fantasy and reality yet. But when you're that young and, you know, all you're doing is consuming freeform TV shows all the time in order to escape from the horrible realities of, you know, high school, you are going to get engrossed with it. And then when these kind of things show up in real life and it's kind of reminds you of those TV shows that you're so interested in, for some teenagers, it is going to push them to do things like this. All right, everyone, that is going to do it for this video. Don't forget to like if you liked it. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it to the end, and I will see y'all in the next one.